Okay, good morning, good day, everyone. Thank you for joining in. This is Baz Design Services. Right, so Baz Design Services is a collaboration with Architect Guide. Right, so you're welcome to Architect Guide, this channel. Right here, we talk about architecture, we talk about Archicad, we talk about softwares, tools that help you to become much more productive in your architectural journey, your design journey. So today we're starting a training, a 5 days training. Right, so now where we'll be teaching you from the beginners down to the advanced level, right? So from the documentation, from the basics of using Archicad down to 3D modeling, right? So you model the 3D and then you begin to render those 3D using Enscape as our first choice tool after Archicad. Right, so if you're just joining this channel, please stay tuned up to the end of this stream. Right, so you feel free to comment, feel free to like, feel free to share this video, share this content, so that we can actually reach out to more persons. And the more persons we reach out to, the more we broadcast and also help other people that are still out there looking for a way out in their personal challenges when it comes to Archicad, architecture, and all that you think of. Right, so today we're going to jump right in. So please join me as we start this particular video. So I'll share my screen. Right, so like I said, my name is Bright Gira. So this is Architect's Guide. Right, so let me share my screen from what we have here. Right, so yes, so this is Archicad. Right, we have five modules, so beginner to advanced. Right, so today we're talking about the basic aspect of it, the basic aspect. Right, so now today we're talking about Archicad, Archicad beginner course, right? So from zero to first building project, Archicad beginner course from zero to first building project. Probably you've not done it before. You don't need any skill. You just need a laptop that is working, and also you need a software installed, Archicad installed. Also you need Enscape installed, right? So and then you have your mouse. Mouse is very important to have while working because it makes it simpler. You have your keypad, which makes it easier for you to input shortcuts, right? So shortcuts makes your work faster while using Archicad, right? So today, by the end of this model, right, so students will understand what Archicad is, why it is important in modern architecture, and how to navigate the software, right, so confidently. So now on our lesson one, we'll be talking about what is Archicad and why it matters. On our lesson two, we're talking about 1.2, we're talking about installing and setting up Archicad. Number 1.3, we'll talk about Archicad interface overview. Archicad interface overview. Number 4, 1.4, we talk about basic navigations, and then we have an assignment at the end of this particular live stream. So even if you are watching the video in a later time, you can still do this assignment and submit via the comment section. You can do a snapshot or a PDF version of it. All right, so let's go back right in here. So we have getting started with Archicad, right? So what is Archicad and why it matters, right? So Archicad is a building information modeling software. Archicad is a building information modeling software, right? So used by architects and designers to create intelligent 2D drawings and 3D building models. Right, so now it is 2D software, right? So it's a modeling, it's a BIM software whereby you architects, designers, interior designers, right, surveyors, right, different fields, right, use this software to now begin to produce drawings from 2D drawings down to 3D drawings, right? What makes it different from what makes Archicad different from other, like let's say AutoCAD, most likely, right? Because AutoCAD is mainly 2D, right? But there's an aspect of AutoCAD that is advanced a little bit now that is coming towards 3D. But then, Archicad is majorly for transformation. You are moving from the plan, and from plan, you are seeing every other thing. You are seeing your elevation, from plan, you see your section, from plan, you see your 3D, right, already modeled, right? So now what you need to do now as while we begin the while you continue the course is that while you draw your plan, right? So the next thing is you begin to now arrange the model in 3D, right? So if you probably there's something you added on the plan and then you want to see how it looks like, right? You have the opportunity to go to your 3D window and check how it looks like before you now continue working. Or you can actually make some settings, some changes, some color palette, change some materials, change some things, and then making it much more simpler for you to work with, right? So in the while you are doing your designs, right, while you're doing your projects, you are seeing the 3D while it is going on, while you're trying to make some changes, right? So it makes it easier for you to think on the project. Right? So actually that makes it easier for you to think on the project. So it's not just 2D drawings, but then it's also mixed with 3D, right? So 2D, 3D, and also you can actually do documentations of your drawing. Right. So why Archicad is important? One model, right? So from one model you are doing multiple outputs. Like I said earlier, one model gives you multiple outputs, right? So you're seeing the plans, you've seen the elevations, you've seen the sections, you've seen the 3D. So one model from one particular layout, right? The floor plan layout, you've seen this other aspect of it, right? You can see specifications also brought out from that drawing you're working on. And secondly, faster design and documentation. So it makes it easier for you to do your designs faster, right? So after you finish thinking on your paper, right? You think on your paper, right? So begin to now draw and do your design on the software. So now, using Archicad does not mean you will not think on paper altogether. So I want to just clarify that while we move on, right? So using Archicad does not mean you will not think on paper. One thing that makes us different from every other profession as architects or designers or in the building industry is the fact that we can actually think and then we bring those thinking to life. Right, so now thinking is very important when it comes to doing your design. So you don't want to leave out that thinking process. Probably you're doing an interior design, you are thinking first and you are writing down what you think, and then before you now begin to implement them on the software. Please don't make the mistake of just starting your design on CAD without having a thinking process on paper. Or you probably think on something, but make sure you think, okay? So you don't make sure you don't allow yourself to just start like that. So because if you do that, what happens is you can begin to you can get stuck somewhere while working on that system. And then when you get stuck while working on the system, it becomes very hard for you to trace your step backwards. Okay, please note that. Right, so reduces drawing errors. Right, so while using Archicad, it makes it easier for you to reduce drawing errors. Right, for example, you're looking out for to say, okay, for this drawing I'm doing, right, for this thing I'm doing right currently now, right, what um you are looking at the drawing, and then before you now begin to do that design, or you want to now build or do a construction of that design, right, you are seeing how it looks like. So it gives you a preview of what your design looks like before you actually begin to design, right? So now that's what, when you do it on 3D on Archicad, right, that is what it helps you to do. It helps you see your design before it is implemented on the floor plan on the site, right? That is one of the good things about Archicad, right? Another building information software, modeling software. You have to see it, and then you down make the errors, make the corrections, and then you begin to now do the actual work. Right. So now, number four, we talk about industry standard BIM workflow. Right. So with the Archicad, it is very possible for you to now do several multiple drawings together. Like I said, the floor plan, the section, the documentation aspect of it, you are doing the workflow together. So you can actually still make use of the two or three persons working on the same project with the Archicad software. Just like, if you look at Canva, for example. So Canva, two or three persons, even five persons can be working on the same presentation or the same design or something at the same time. Okay, so that is one of the things that is good about um, Archicad. And so lastly, it's a used globally for residential and commercial projects. So now Archicad is very, very vast, right? There are different other software that comes up, right? But then when it comes to building and when it comes to design and all that, right? So Archicad gives you the basics. It gives you the ability to now actually begin to use those things. What you've done, the design you've done, to actually now produce more drawings, produce more things, do larger projects. You can actually do larger projects in Archicad. You can actually do many things. You can actually align and all that in Archicad. Actually, it's very vast and it's used by several persons. Now, the difference between CAD and then, like I've said that earlier. So, please, as we move on, we move to the next phase where we'll go to Archicad in depth, right? So, the next phase of this training, if we go down, let me see downwards. Yeah. All right. So we're going down to number lesson 1.2, right, as I have on my slide. Right. So installing and setting up Archicad. So number one, supported systems, requirements, downloading Archicad, right? So student trial and all that. Choosing language and work environment. Right. So creating a new project and then selecting templates. So we're going to do that quickly. as I switch my screen to something else. Let me display another screen here. So please make sure do well to follow through for every of these processes because it is very very much important. So I will stop this sharing I'm doing for this link now, and I will come back later for you know much more different. Okay, let me use this. Let me use it an entire screen, recording an entire screen. Let me do for these. Okay, okay, I have this here. All right, so let me use this one for example. Let me continue with this. All right, so here we have it. This is Archicad, right? So if you have Archicad in your system and your workflow, so this is how Archicad looks like. So mine is most likely going to be different from yours currently because why? I have a whole lot of settings. I reconfigured my setup to suit what I'm working on. So it's looking as if it is very small down here, and then it is I'm seeing a whole lot of things going on this particular aspect here. So there's a side panel where we have the toolbox. There's a upper this panel where we have the tools, the displays for every of our selections we make here. Right. So now opening Archicad. Right, so now currently I'm already in Archicad now. So what I'll do now is to let's create a new document. Let's go to a new document. So I'll click on File to open a new folder. I'll click on File. Right, so File menu. So I have New. I have Open. Right, we have Save. We have Save As. We have Plot Site. We have Plot Setup. We have Plot. We have Page Setup. So now I have a new document here. So now from this new, when I click on New, or I can click on Control N as a shortcut. I'll create a new document where I can start working on AutoCAD from scratch. That's new document. So then I also have open here. So for open, I can see project that I've done before. Right? So different projects I've done, the residential projects, 2B, two bedroom, or more like that. So I can see all those projects listed out on this other part. So now there is save whereby you can actually control save. So while you're working, you are doing the control save, right? So probably your system might go off or something. You are saving your document with control S can save. Control Shift S save as. So you can actually save the name and then call it something else. So probably two bedroom design, right? Two bedroom design, or probably let's say commercial space. So you can save the document as something, right? So if I click on save as right now, so you see it pops up this other menu to save plan. So if you choose show me a place I'll save and also to choose the name I want to save it. I already saved it as something, but I'm not going to save it now again. Okay, so no, I'm not supposed to make that. So now we can click on new, Control N, which is new. So now it's already open my 3D. So sorry for that. Let me go back to my plan. So let's go to we'll come back to this drawing later if that's the case. So let's click on new, Control N. Right, so now which is new. So it asks you Archicad create new project from. Right, so you click on new. Right, so it will move, it will open a new panel for us to work with. Right, so this is where it works. This is where it goes. Okay. So while that is still opening, right, we can still continue looking at other things. Right, so choosing a work environment. So now creating a new project and I'm selecting template. Right, so it's still opening. Right, it's still opening. So while it opens, right, so this is how a new project will look like. This is how a new project look like. So briefly, I'm going to talk us through. So at the next 1.2 or less than 1.2, we're going to be on Archicad interface overview, right? So menu bar, toolbar, info box, navigator. We have the quick options bar. We have coordinate box, right? So I'm going to talk us through each of these aspects of the selection, right? So what you want to work on, right? So let's dive right in. So now, if you look at this is more like an architect. But now what happens is we have different menu files here, menu here, right? So we have the file, we have the edit, we have the view, we have design, we have, and then we have escape. Notice that there's an escape here, right? And then there's an escape toolbar here, right? So now this is for me, right? So if you have installed escape into your software, into your system, you see that the escape is a plugin. It's a plugin, either escape for Archicad, escape as a plugin for SketchUp, and Escape for Revit, right? So the Enscape is a plugin that adds to it, but then it's a 2D, it's a 3D rendering software, right? That you can actually be doing what you're doing. So we'll still talk about that at the later part of this. That's why you have to stay tuned with us, okay, up to the end of this live video. Right, so now this is the button. This is how I set my own application. Like, look at this. This is collapsible, right? So you can actually reduce it down to one, but then I choose to make it two because I like to see what I'm working on. I want to be seeing all those tools and the wall and other things. So let's start from the menu file here, the menu here. Right, so from file, like I explained earlier, so you can actually open a new document, so you can actually plot setup from this when you click on this button, you can actually plot a setup. But then we have a different way of doing site plotting our sites for Archicad, for architects, rather, people that are inclined. I want to do a site plan on Archicad. They have a different way of doing it, right? So now you can check one of my videos. I did that how to plot sites on Archicad. It's a long video I did a long time ago. Right, so now this is, we have the number two, we have edit. So if I've already had a drawing, if I'm already working on something, you see that this undo, redo, I repeat last command, cut, copy, they are going to be active, but then they're not active now because I have not, there's nothing I'm working on this. This sheet is blank, right? So this is very easy blank. So, and then we have select all walls. You can actually select all the entire of the project which you're working on. You have grouping. You can actually group items together. You can actually display other, probably you have, just like you have on Photoshop or Canva, you have layer. You can actually bring something above the other. You can actually continue using it on the level, right? So it's just like different layers. You can stack it up. You have a floor plan on the higher level, and you have your site plan underneath, right? You have your first floor, your second floor. These are levels, right? You can actually align that together. So locking, you can lock a project, you can lock a tool while you're working. You can lock it. You can move, right? Move. You can align. Most of these tools are not active, like we say here, because while you are not actually, you're not actually selecting anything on our drawing panel, right? You're not selecting in the studio. That's why it's just inactive for now. Right, so we'll move to the next menu, which is view, the view menu. Right, so on the view menu, you can see on-screen view options. Right, on-screen view options. These are if I select any of these now, you see that it can actually pop up a small menu box on the left. Right, so these ones that I clicked here are already showing on my screen, right? So if you look at, something happened while I, so if you look at this circle here, there's there are lines that indicates the view. These are views: south view, east, west, and then north. So let me click on that again. So it will come up on screen. Right, so I click on marker range. So you look at it, so it comes back on. So now you can actually, there are different of those tools that they are selected on. For these ones that are selected, you can actually see them on your screen. So if anything you don't see, right, for something you're looking for on the screen view, but you can actually just click on it here and it will show up on your screen. As you have trace, just like we have your architects that went through schooling, you see that tracing is a tool that helps you to now trace something underneath. We used to use tracing paper. So you place your tracing paper on top of a paper, right? And then you now begin to trace your floor plan out or trace a graphics out of what you did. Right. So now that's what tracing does here. So now you have this trace. If you click on this tracing, you can actually see a layer of something this underneath on a different level altogether, right? On a different level, so you can actually make use of it and continue working. So now this is construction grid. So this is if you look at my screen here, on this screen, there's nothing like a grid, right? But then if I click on the construction grid, you see that to show up back here, right? So now I've added this grid. So what the grid does, it helps you to now do your drawings in modular forms, right? So you're doing it in 300s, right? So that's in 300 millimeters, right? Or 0.3 millimeters, 0.3 meter rather. So you're doing it in on a range, on a scale based on your materials, probably your tile, your size of the room. So you're doing that on a scale, right? And so it helps you to now work out your design properly, right? So let's move down to the next. So I'll unlock, I'll remove the grid. I don't usually like working with the grid. All right, so let's move down to, we have tracing options, right? We have grid. Most of these tools are most likely not used. So for the ones that are mostly used, we talk about it. And then for anyone who's thinking, okay, I need to know this one, or probably what is this about, just ask a question or do a comment right now so I can go back to it. Right, so the guidelines, so you have guidelines, we have guideline options, we have surface snap, right? Surface snap, we most likely don't use surface snap altogether. We have grid snap, we don't use grid snap altogether because it helps that grid that I will display earlier, it's just begin to snap to a particular cross section point of those grid, and then you can't draw out of those grid any longer, right? So it is easier, it is good if you want to do, like I said, modular drawings, so that you want to have your drawings in 300 or more, right? So now we have the elements in 3D view. We have the 3D view options, right? We have perspective. We have different types of view. We have isometry. We have 3D styles. From here, you can actually change if you want your drawing to be in a model format whereby it's just plain white all through. You don't want any color. You just want plain white. Or you can actually do your projection settings here. Your 3D projection settings here. You can actually do your technical drawing. These are all, you can actually use these tools when it comes to doing your 3D model, right? We'll talk about that later. So this is gonna actually zoom, actual zoom for this our particular drawing window. You can zoom it in, you can zoom out as the case may be. So we'll talk about design. So now design, we have under design we have architectural tools. Architectural tools, we have this particular toolbar we have here on our left hand panel. You can actually see them here. So and then you can make use of them from here. So select any one and continue working. Right. So we have structural design tools for the structural inclined. Then we have the story settings, right? So we have them level. We have different stories. Let me come down here and show us the stories. So now we have the pop-up navigator here. For others, Archicad, the previous version of Archicad, you see that this pop-up, this navigator, you can actually see the navigator, right? But now for 24, Archicad 24, you can actually hide it. You can actually click it up and it comes up, or you can actually hide it. So to make your drawing feel your drawing window look larger and all that, right? So now I click on it, I'm seeing stories. Now that is the story setting I'm talking about. So this ground floor, we have the first floor, we have the second floor. You can add floors, like right click on my mouse, right click now. You can see I can create new story. I can add a new story. I can add up to 20 floors, 30 floors, depending on the kind of project I'm working on. Right. If it's a skyscraper, I can work on 100 floors, depending on the kind of drawing and the job I'm working on. Right. So you can actually begin to add new, save current view and all that underneath this. Right. So here you can see elevations. You can see we'll talk about this later, but I just want to show us what that does, right? So now that story setting, you can actually set your story, probably the height for your headroom. So from the ground from the floor level down to the ceiling level, what is the height? What side do I want to use? So we'll talk about all that later. We have the edit elements by stories. We have connect and to trim body. So now this is usually used for this connect usually is for roof. Probably want to do a gable roof, right? Gable roof. I think there's a video I did on gable roof, so you can go and check on it. So I will still do another video again if you want me to do something specifically for that, right? So gable roof, whereby you actually do a gable, right? You have a gutter and all that in your gable, so you can actually edit your roof, right? So you do a roof plan, you draw a roof plan, and then you want to now edit your roof plan. You can actually edit it using these trimming bodies, using connect, right? So we have solid element options, we have polygonal, we have one magic wand settings, right? We have modify morph, we have modify railing, we have modifies. These tools are not active because I have not started drawing yet. Right, design extras, roof truss, you can add roof members, right, and all that. And so these are model check, model compare. These tools are very useful for us. So we have documents. Next menu we have document. Under document we have documenting tools. Right, so now you can actually see just like we check this menu here for the navigator, right? For and we saw elevation sections and all that. So here you can actually select or start working on the elevation of a particular project or section or interior elevation. For interior designers, right? You can do an interior elevation. So you want to view the size of the wardrobe, you want to view the size of the items and all that. You can actually use this interior elevation to do an elevation and then add your dimensions on the elevation, making it look much more presentable, much more realistic while you're talking with your clients, right? So it is very important, right? I'm on the comment. So let's continue, right? So we have detail. You can actually add detail. So blow up a particular detail to make it much more easier for you to work. right? So and then we actually have new 3D documents. We have camera. We have new 3D documents. We have independent views, right? We have level dimensions. All this we'll talk about them on later days when we begin to draw, right? So we have change. We have fill, right? We have fill for probably I don't my what I'm adding on the floor plan on my floor plan layout to show on the 3D, right? I can actually use fill to just depict a probably grass or probably an element or that I want people to see and okay, this is what I'm trying to talk about in my plan. And we have line, we have arc, we have circle, we have all these. These are going to be used much later. So we have layers, right? So we have drafting layers, we have show all layers model, right, and all that. So we have floor plan scale. So the scale of a floor plan you're making use of, right? So scale 1 is to 100, right? So now is mostly the easiest scale for us to use it. No scale. If I'm talking about scale, if I click on this now, you see there are different scales here, and these different scales are used for different professionals, right? So for the scale for architecture, right, and then interior design, the scale that we work with mostly is scale 1 is to 100, my scale 1 is 100 and I want to print my documents in an A3 format, right? So if I'm working on scale 1 is 100, depending on the size of my paper, I can use this scale to now scale down my drawing to fit the size of my paper. So if I'm working on this if I want to do two of these, let's say two of these now, okay, two of these can actually gives us an A4, right? So if I want to use this A4 to print this document after drawing, and what I'll do now is I'll select a scale. So scale 1 is to 200. If I print on scale 1 to 200 for a drawing, depending on the size of the drawing now, right? So when I can actually reduce the size of the drawing to fit this paper. I can actually reduce the size of the drawing to fit an A4, an A3 rather. Is it A3? A2, no, A5 rather. Okay, A5 is the smaller after is smaller than A4. So I can actually reduce the size of the drawing to fit an A5. So I can actually magnify the drawing to fit an A2 drawing paper size. Right? So, but then is it the work of the scale to now reduce or increase the size of the drawing. So because we're not working on paper and drawing on pencil does not mean scale does not apply. Right? Scale also applies when using Archicad. Right? So you select the scale you want to use, either using scale 1 to 50 for an interior designer that wants to do your drawing, make it you're trying to now enlarge your drawing, right? So scale 1 to 50 can be used, right? So we go back to let me go back to the place where we saw this. So we use this particular tool. So we did this from option from document, right? From documents. Is it the documents? Yeah, from documents. Right. So now when you go to documents, you go to floor plan scale. Click on it and then we set the scale for this drawing. So if I click on let me change this scale now and you see what happens to the size of this drawing I'm working on. Let me select scale 1 is to 500 and I click OK. So you see at the size of the drawing, these arrows have reduced to a smaller size. Right? This is actually how it works. Right? So the bigger the scale, the smaller the drawing. So the smaller the drawing, the bigger the scale. Obviously, the bigger the scale, the smaller the drawing. The smaller the scale, the bigger the drawing. Right, so that is how it works. So you actually follow this. Just try to note this down. Probably if you forget, you can actually leave on the comment below so that I can explain it again much better for you to understand. Or I can do a video explaining scale, this particular scale that we just talked about. Right. So let's move on. Right, continue from where we stop. Let me go back and then I set it back to 1 is to 100. Okay. So if there's any comments, if there's any question, please make sure you do so by showing us yes, so to show us that you are following. Right. So we move down to okay, we're still on documents. So model view. So you can actually view this on building plans or site plan, right, or ceiling plans and all that. So graphics override, and then we have floor plan. We have majorly of this. And more, like I said earlier, most of these we are not using them, right? So annotation, right? You can actually use annotation for dimensioning. For doing your dimensions, and then we have automatic dimension, we have secondary dimensioning. So you can actually do an automatic dimension on your plan. So imagine you just finish doing your floor plan and you want to just add dimension on the four sides, right? It is very strenuous for you to begin to select the walls, select the windows, and then actually now begin to do dimension. But now with automatic dimension, you don't have anything selected, that's why it's not active yet. So, but with automatic dimensioning, what happens? You can actually just click exterior dimensioning. Once you select your walls, click exterior dimensioning. Immediately it just dimension all the four sides for you. But most likely for projects, for serious projects, we actually advise that you select, do the dimensioning yourself. Right. So there's a place where you can come here. There's a place where you can come here and then select dimension to now begin to select the dimension layers where you want to work on this toolbar, right? So we continuing, we have look at we have creative imaging, right? So here you can do photo rendering, photo rendition. And like I said, we are using Enscape, right? But now you can actually still do rendering your drawing on an Archicad, right? But then it takes more time for you. If you understand how it works, you can actually now render your drawing, photo render your drawing on Archicad and the likes like that. So now we move down to options, right? So on options we have elements, attributes, we have layers, you have building materials, you have composite, you have profile manager. So this profile manager is very important, right? Someone was asking, one of the students was asking me, am I going to talk about profile manager, right? So profile manager is used to create a complex profile, right? While you're working, probably something, a shape or something that you cannot easily model. You can't see it in Archicad. You can actually model them through Profile Manager. So we'll talk about that later. Or you can check out my link, one of my videos. I'll put that link in the description for the next time. Right. So these are useful to layers, lines, pens, and colors. So I'll click on these pens and colors and I'll talk about it a little before we move on. Right. So look here, you see that we have different pen, different colors, right? You have different pen widths. In architecture, right, we have what we call pen width. Right? You can select the pen width for your drawing and actually apply that pen width to your drawing and make your drawing look. There's a topic we talk about, and it's called architectural drafting. So in drafting, you understand that there are different size of pens that, or every drawing, every lines you see on your drawing means something. So now there's way you can actually present it, can make it look much more presentable, make it look much more meaningful, graphically meaningful, right? So now this is where you come and do all those settings, right? I would have done it, but then like I said, I'll just talk about it a little. You can select building plans, pen weights, you can select for structural engineer, mechanical, and differently, and all that. Okay. I so let's go back and so let me cancel this, and I'll continue the stream. Right. So we have all that. We've talked about all that. Right. So now we're still going to look at. Okay. Let's go down to. Let's continue these options. Right. So complex profiles. I explained that earlier. So complex profiles. If you want me to do a video on this, just comment on the section on this session downwards in the comment section, and I'll do a video specifically for this particular topic because it is a little bit broad, right? Right. So now we have work environment. We have work environment, we have project preferences, working unit. This other part, right? Before you start any project in Africa, there are several things you set. And one of the things you set, like I mentioned earlier, is pen width. Pen width. You set your pen width, and then secondly, you set your working unit, and then thirdly, you set your scale. I talked about three things now, right? So your scale, the scale you're working on, the working unit, and then the pen width you want to work on. Right? Because if you can actually do this, set your pen width afterwards. But then if you set it afterwards, it can actually affect everything in your drawing. Everything can begin to change. You can actually begin to go back again and edit again. Right. So, but then if you want to avoid that problem, what happens is you now need to set it from the start. Right? That's why it's important. Right? You can set your dimensions, the dimension units. Right. So if this is metric, millimeter, centimeter, you want to make use of that is easy for you, feet or inches, whatever is easier for you to use, you can actually set them from this working unit, right? So let's move down. So this is most likely we don't use most of the tools here, right? So for window, we have navigate, we have toolbars, we have palettes. So now I'll talk about this toolbars a little bit. So from toolbars, if I click on an item here, it will come up, it will pop up on my screen. Let me click on drafting aids. We don't use that mostly. Or let me click on attributes. So I click on attributes, so it brings up that surfaces, materials, pen weights, and all that. Right? I can now decide to position this somewhere inside here. I can decide to remove it from there. Or I can place it down here. Right? So I can actually decide to customize my settings the way I want to. Right? I can actually set it the way I want to. So I can close it from here. So I can go back again and I click on toolbars. Right? I can select them. So all these ones that I checked now, they are already open on my screen here. You can actually see them, right? So, but I'll not click on them, so it's no go. I just want to, I don't want to be going back to those ones, right? So I can actually click on screen view options, simple 3D. You have 3D visualization. So 3D visualization is this one we have here, right? Let me click on classic 2D navigation, right? So it comes up, it comes up. So see, forever on anything that you have here that you don't see on your own screen, you can go to window, you can click on toolbars and select that particular tool, right? Or then you can just click on anyone. If you don't, what you see here is not what you're seeing, you can now click on it and close it back. You can remove it and change it and go back again and do the same. So I would like us to just go back again and do it again to check and all that. So for palettes, right, you have these info box, you have these tools here, the same is you have navigator, you have toolbox. You can actually still click on them and see them display on your screen, right? So let me click on trace and right. So now the same thing you have for that toolbar, you can actually click and see them. So like I said, trace, you can actually pin this particular window, particular to opening to any side of your screen, probably on the top side, on the left side, on the bottom side of your screen, right? So for let's continue with these. We have the okay, I talked about this. We have floor plan F2. Click on F2 on your screen as a shortcut. We have 3D window. We have start elevation and auto build model. So these are tools we have. So now for Enscape, this is Enscape. So if you install your Enscape, it will show up here. And then you have help, whereby you want to now do documentations or you want to Archicad to help you. Probably a tool that you want Archicad to explain more better. You can click on those help and then you search it. Right. You can connect it to online, whereby you can actually view and also understand it much more better. Right, so now we can go down to this toolbar. For now, let's go back, let's go down to this toolbar, these toolbars we have here. So now for any toolbar I click here, you see that the default settings for that toolbar appears here. The default settings for that toolbar particularly appears there. So for this, I'm on wall now. Click on wall, so I'll see settings for wall. I click on these settings now, it will open another page whereby I can actually set my wall size, the height, the color, the material, and all that. Right. So if I click on column, I should see that the settings, the default settings has changed for me to actually now work on the. So now for any toolbar you click here, right, the settings will appear on the top right corner here.